Hi guys, happy Sunday with Satan. Also happy Ostara and happy Easter for all those that do celebrate it, which I don't. So, alright, back to the Egyptian gods and goddesses. And yes, I finally got a new haircut, thank God. Oh, it feels so much better. It's like amazing. Alright, so we have Mantu. This cough is stupid. So, Mantu, a local Egyptian war god, was worshipped in the surrounding Thebes area, or district, in Upper Egypt. So he was known for about, he was known from about 2000 BC, possibly earlier, but it became to special prominence, overseeing the aggressive posture of the Theban kings. From the, 9th to the, something dynasty. So that'd be 2133 through 1320 BC. Now Mantu is depicted in human form, possessing a falcon head, surmounted by twin plumes, a sun disk, and the Urus, a cobra. At some stage, probably as month, he became identified with the sacred bull, Bucus. So, Mantu, another great Egyptian god. Now we have Mut. So Mut is the patron goddess of Thebes in Upper Egypt. She is the counterpart, of Sekhmet. So it's a lower Egyptian goddess from Memphis. After surpassing the goddess Amunat, in which capacity she is the mother of the moon god Khonsu. She was also regarded as the divine mother of the Theban kings. So Mut is depicted in human form, wearing a vulture headdress surmounted by the twin crowns of Upper and Lower Egypt. So she's typically dressed in a bright red or blue patterned gown. So less frequently, she is drawn with a lion's head. So her cult center was at Thebes, where her sanctuary was known as Isru. So you can find all of these Egyptian temples actually online on Google Earth, and you can actually, it's neat. Now we have Nonet. So Nonet was the primordial goddess, one of the 8 Egyptian deities composing the Ogdod in the Hermopolitan theological system, who represented chaos. Now her consort was Nun. She is one of the 4 feminine deities who had serpent heads, representing their affinity for the depths of the earth. Now, when paired with Nun, or Nun, the couple epitomized the primordial abyss. Anthropomorphized as a baboon, she is depicted as greeting the rising sun. So, very interesting. They all have... My birds are very chirpy. Alright, now we have Neith. So Neith is a goddess of Lower Egypt, particularly associated with Sais, but soon incorporated into the national pantheon with a sanctuary at Memphis. According to legend, Neith emerged from the primeval water to create the world. She followed the course of the Nile to the sea, and when reaching the delta, she formed the city of Sais. It's really interesting how many creation myths are with each one. Almost each deity has a creation myth that surrounds them. So in the New Kingdom, she was regarded as the god's mother who bore Re or Ra, whereby she assumed the position of a primeval goddess who was neither male nor female. So she was the first to create the seed of gods and men. She is the mother of Egyptian rulers. Also, she was a mortuary goddess who watched over Osiris's bier along with Isis, Nephthys, and Serket. So the deceased received her divine power by means of the mummy's wrappings, for the bandages and shrouds were considered gifts of Neith, who was regarded as the patroness of weaving. Oh, Auntie Hilda, that reminds me of a weaver. Possibly there was an earlier proposal that her symbol was the weaver's shuttle. So, when depicted in human form, she wears the red crown of Lower Egypt. And in ancient times, her pre-anthropomorphic symbol was a shield bearing crosses, because she was a local war goddess. Now, this goddess of war was blessed hunters, weapons. So, This practice of placing weapons around the coffin in ancient Egyptian times could be traced to the goddess's protective functions. So she was sometimes asked to give advice and judgment, as for example in the 8-year war of the gods between Seth and Horus. Wow, an 8-year war between those two. Talk about a really long sibling rivalry. Anyways, where'd I go? Oh, which she advised Re or Ra in favor of Horus. So in other legends, she was the consort of Seth and the mother of the crocodile god Sobek. Where do you guys know Sobek from? Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I don't remember her name. She's blonde. She was that god that wanted to take the key. I honestly can't remember her name, but she did. She went to the reptiles sanctuary in the museum, and she invoked Sobek. So, which explains the proximity of her call center in the Delta. So really interesting. What was that woman's name? She was a god of some kind. Glory. She's the one that, conjured Sobek, and that was that giant snake that was trying to eat people, but that's not what this is. Where'd I go? Now we have Nephthys. So Nephthys, the second daughter of Nu, and born on the 5th intercalary day, was the consort of Seth, her brother, but her loyalties were with Osiris. Her name means Lady of the House, and it is thought to refer to the palace of Osiris. Now, Nephthys guards homes. She is above the Autotums, temples of deities, not pagan, but Egyptian deities. So she's very welcome here. Now, where'd I go? Lady of the House, and is thought to refer to the palace of Osiris. Now, as the wife of Seth, the god of aridity and storm, Nephthys conceived no children. Her greatest desire was to have a child by Osiris, so by either getting him drunk or disguising herself as Isis, she deceived him. Now the fruit of their union was Anubis, but from fear of Seth's vengeance, she exposed the infant as soon as he was born. Soon afterwards, Seth murdered Osiris, which caused Nephthys to flee from him. She then joined Isis in her search for the remains of the body of Osiris and told her sister about Anubis. So Isis found the baby in the Delta marshes when searching for Osiris and adopted him. So afterwards, Nephthys remained with Isis during her further trials of hiding in the marshes. So Isis protects her and others who have fled the horror of Seth by giving them magical powers that enable them to transform into various animals, forms through metamorphosis. Now, when finding the parts of the body of Osiris, which Isis puts together, the two sisters embalm it, so then as kites, they mourn over the corpse. In the same way, in funerary rites, when the deceased was identified with Osiris, Nephthys mourned at the head of her coffin, while Isis stood at the foot. Like Isis, she enfolded and protected the deceased with her long feathery wings, and she was represented as such on coffins. So she is said to be a friend of the dead in the judgment hall of Osiris. Love this. In another legend, after Seth succeeds in capturing Osiris's body, in the second time and cutting it up into pieces, Isis does not stop searching until she finds the pieces. She locates all the pieces except the phallus, so she enlisted the aid of Anubis, Nephthys, and other deities to create the first mummy. And then you can actually find that too. That's like historical fact. So it's pretty interesting. Very interesting, actually. Alright, now we have Nun. It kind of seems like that these all kind of went. Yeah, weird. I don't know. Now we have Nun. It just seems like these are all kind of like mashed up. Okay. Now Nun, or Nu, was chaos, or the primeval waters from which all life imminent, and was guarded by 4 androgynous frogs and serpent-headed deities, Atum, father of all gods. Rose from Nu through his son though his son was greater than himself. In Heliopolis, Nu was called infinity, nothingness, nowhere, and darkness. Being the primeval waters of Egyptian mythology, Nu is, in rare illustrations, is pictured as a bearded man with the head or either of a frog, eagle, or a serpent standing waist deep in water, with arms raised to support the solar bark, in which the sun disk was being raised up by a scarab. Now Isis and Nephthys supported the scarab, and the crew of the boat included Shu and Geb. So these were described in text as deities issuing from Nu. Nu was described as having no surface, for in the primeval period he filled the entire cosmos. It was the belief of Shu, the air, which separated the sky from the earth. Now in the Hermopolitan theological system, Nu arose from the deep, endless, murky, and unperceived waters, with the other gods and their consorts, who personify the aspects of chaos. So the god Nu and Nonet, Kuk and Kakwet, Amun and Amunet, comprised the Ogdod of the Kum, the town of 8. So, yeah. Now within the Hermopolitan system, that is thought to have originated as a fairly early date, since it is mentioned pyramid texts several times. There are about 4 elements of the primeval chaos, and these elements, which gradually formulated to account for the formulation of the universe, might be considered aspects of chaos itself. On the primeval hillock, which the text refers to as the Island of Flame, 4 gods appeared simultaneously. Among them were Nu and his consort Nonet, the god and goddess of the primeval ocean. I love that. Nu is also mentioned in the Memphite system, which combined both theological and political theories, and it is said to have been carved on what is presently known as the Shabaka stone, a basalt slab, commanded by King Shakaba, 25th dynasty, or the 8th century BCE. Although most of the engraving is difficult to translate, the main doctrine was discernible. So the system centered on the god Ptah, the god of Memphis, in his role of demiurge or maker of the universe. Ptah originally existed before everything else and had his existence in Nu. So the primeval ocean formed in other cosmologies, and I've always seen Ptah as the creator. So this is very different. So Nu was believed to still exist. His representation was seen in the water, discovered whenever a well was dug, and in the flooding waters of the Nile. So occasionally it was thought that the waters of the Nu, which surrounded the floating earth, would one day re-envelop the world, and a tomb would revert to his original form as the serpent. Osiris, instead of Re or Ra, would sail over the waters of Nu. As a whole, Nu was a beneficent god. He looked after Shu and Tefnet at birth, and he supposedly guarded and kept in check the demonic powers of chaos, represented by serpents. Lots and lots of just crazy. It's crazy. I love it. Oh no. What happened? Okay, now we have Nut, or Newt. Okay, so Nut, I'm going to say Nut, was the Egyptian sky goddess, usually portrayed as a giant naked lady with her back arched over the earth. So Su supported her, so only Newt's fingertips and toes touched the earth, thus separated from her consort Geb, the earth god, during the day. A Newt descended to him at night, thus creating darkness. Now when storms occurred during the day, Newt was thought to have slipped part way down the 4 pillars or circle of mountains that supported her. Ooh, maybe that's why storms are coming. You never know. So sometimes Geb was said to be the father of the sun and the moon. Therefore, Newt was also associated with them, so either as their mother or as a great cow whose eyes they formed. Re, in jealousy, either as a grandfather or his son, had forbidden Nu from marrying Geb, And when she did, she ordered her not to have children in any given month of the year. Thoth, when hearing this, took sympathy on Nu, and by playing droughts with the moon, won from him a 77th part of his light. Now this amounted to 5 days. The 5 intercalated days before the new year, in the Egyptian calendar. So on each of these days consecutively, Nut was able to bear a child: Osiris, Horus, Set, Isis, and Nephthys. I love Nut. I do. So it was believed that Nut bore numerous children and was thought to be the original mother goddess. Now, the hieroglyph of her name, which she wore on her forehead when depicted as a woman, is thought to be a womb, so as well as a water pot, the cauldron, literally, Nut's cauldron. So she was also pictured as a sow whose belly was covered with countless suckling pigs, the stars, which she swallowed each morning. In another myth, when Re took a dislike toward humanity and decided to leave the boundaries of Earth, Nut assumed the figure of a beautiful cow to achieve his wish. The god Nun urged him to seat himself on the cow, Nut. When in the morning, as men were still continuing their quarrelsome ways, the cow ascended with the god on her back and was transformed into the sky. Re was delighted when being raised so high, but the cow became fearful and trembled in every limb. So Re ordered other gods to support her legs and belly, and they became stars. So it is believed this was how the present world evolved. The earth, the heaven and earth, gods and men were separated. So Nut was actually both mother and daughter of Re, for in various fashions the sun was thought to be reborn of her womb each morning. According to legends, solar rebirth represented day and night. Now the sun, a child, entered the mouth of Nut in the evening, passed through her belly during the night, and was born from her womb in the morning. So that'd be the sun god. This was also symbolized by her presence as the emergence of Khepri from the underworld. Now when she would reach down to take the scarab from her solar bark, held up from the abyssal waters by noon, the blood she shed in giving birth to the sun was said to color the sky pink at dawn. I love that. That is amazing. That is really amazing. I love that analogy. So, through her association with Khepri, the reborn or resurrected sun, Nu became identified as the protectress of the dead, who were pictured lying in her starry bosom. She had her wings spread over them in this role. So this firmament of her body was painted on the inner lids of coffins so that the soul of the deceased might join the blessed dead. I love that. I love the whole, her bleeding, giving birth, and then, giving, the pinkish sky at night. That's neat. Alright. I think we have really honestly went through all of these already. Okay, Osiris. Did we already go over Osiris? Wow, yeah. So, alright guys, we will finish the rest tomorrow because I don't know where I'm at. I do know where I'm at, but this is just really weird. I mean, really weird. Just the way everything's set up. I don't know if the names of the deities switch or move because they're links. But I like leaving it at that because that was just a really beautiful, it was a beautiful passage for whatever goddess we just talked about. No clue. But alright guys. I hope you guys are staying safe, stay home. Yes, just, do your part to stay healthy. I love you all very much. Happy Ostara or Happy Easter to anybody that celebrates. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. So, I love you all the way from Venus, all the way back down. And wow. Now they're hoarding hair color. They're hoarding hair color and not toilet paper and stuff anymore. So that's not right. That's not right. But alright, I love you guys. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.